once again students of class 10th. This is the second part of my video. So here I'll be discussing about nutrition in animals, right? So in this you will find nutrition in animals with the help of unicellular as well as in multicellular. Now when we talk about animals, the first unicellular organism that comes to your mind is of course amoeba, right? So what is amoeba? Amoeba is an unicellular organism which is found of course in water. If you go back to class 9th, you have studied in details the process of phagocytosis. Do you remember? P-H-A-G-O, phago, I am writing here, cytosis, right? Phago, cytosis. You split the terms. Go to class 9th. I am now discussing about phagocytosis here. But the mode of ingestion in amoeba is only by this process of phagocytosis. So what it does? You must be wondering why an unicellular organism like amoeba, it also performs all the activities which are performed by a multicellular organism. Being a unicellular organism, the steps of nutrition are common to both amoeba as well as in human beings. So, what is the first step of nutrition? The first step of nutrition has certain steps, right? There are various steps of nutrition. The nutrition in amoeba, it begins with the first step which is called as ingestion. I-N-G-E-S-T-I-O-N. Children, remember these steps are common to unicellular as well as in multicellular. So don't think that we do not have this method, we do not follow these steps. So same steps are repeated. Ingestion, okay, what is that? It is the process of taking in the solid food, that is called as ingestion. The second step is called as digestion. The first step is ingestion. Next is digestion, that is breakdown. Simple thing, that is breakdown. The third step is called as assimilation. Now what is assimilation? In assimilation, the energy is released. The food that is broken down, for what purpose? To get the energy, and that is done by the step that is assimilation. And in the first and the final step, that is egestion. What happens in egestion? During the step of egestion, this unwanted food material that are the end product, end product of digestion, are removed from the body by the process of egestion. So am I clear to all of you? These four steps, I repeat, ingestion, digestion, assimilation and egestion. These four steps are basic to nutrition in amoeba or any unicellular organism as well as in multicellular organism. So let us go for this process in detail. Okay, that is nutrition in amoeba. It is a 4-step process. So first step, ingestion. You can see here, if you see the diagram carefully, if you see the first step, this is the first step. If you remember, this amoeba is an unicellular organism having no basic shape. This is the simplest of the diagram. Here there are no chances of any reduction in marks in the diagram because amoeba is shapeless. We call it as amoeboid. What is the meaning of the word amoeboid? Which changes its shape regularly. This is the reason, the first thing that is important while drawing the diagram, you can draw any basic shape for amoeba because it changes its shape. Now, as soon as it comes across the food particle, okay, it forms a pseudopodia. Now what is pseudopodia? You have studied in your lower classes also, a false feet-like structure. Now how is it possible? It is possible because it modifies its own shape. Okay, as soon as it sees the prey, you can see in the picture also it is clearly given. So it is a shapeless structure. As soon as it comes across the prey, it traps the prey by forming a pseudopodia. Now this pseudopodia, false feet, and of course you should not forget that there is a process of diffusion which is occurring here. Diffusion in that is the process is actually called as phagocytosis here, which I have already discussed. So the food particles, okay, usually they are microscopic. Amoeba itself is a unicellular organism, is a small, it cannot be seen with the naked eye of course. but it feeds on more what you can say submicroscopic particles. Can you give me the example? Just think little bit. Okay, you might not know also, these microscopic organisms are called as diatoms. Okay, they are much smaller, on which the amoeba feeds. Okay, so now what happens? The next step. First step, ingestion is done. Now it has taken in, the food is ingested inside your body. Now what will happen? This food which it has already ingested, it will go inside the amoeba and it will form a food vacuole. Okay, after the food vacuole, from here what will happen? The essential nutrients will be taken, and after the whole process of digestion is over, then the unwanted substances are again thrown out by the process of egestion. So very simple step it follows. Okay, once the undigested food is thrown away, it again regains its original shape and gets ready to trap the next microscopic organism. Okay, so these 4 steps that you have understood, you can draw it. This is the diagram, I believe it is given in your textbook only. Okay, so go follow this diagram and write it in a stepwise. Children, one more thing, if you carefully observe this diagram, there is an arrow mark given. What is the need for arrow mark? Children, often what do is you just draw it haphazardly. So in your exam, this comes for a 3 marks question. Okay, this is a long question. So please remember, while writing this answer, very scoring answer also. So while writing this answer, keep it in mind that you are going to follow the steps. The direction of arrow mark is very important. These are very simple, minute things which you must keep in mind while drawing the diagram. The direction, the first thing is ingestion, the second step is digestion, the third step is assimilation, and after assimilation, one step which is not shown in the diagram, which you can show also by yourself, is egestion. Okay, so egestion means just removing. You can see here this step is called as egestion. Once it is digested, it has to be removed from the body. So students, you have understood about nutrition in amoeba. You will follow the steps, okay, and then you can draw the diagram and write the answer on your own. One more thing, don't forget about the cell membrane. The cell membrane of amoeba. Go back to class 9th. Again I am repeating, go back to class 9th, where you have learnt about phagocytosis, endocytosis, phagocytosis, chapter 5, fundamental unit of life. Go back to that chapter. Here, there are some keywords are there which you can add here also. Okay, there also you have studied about amoeba, how amoeba takes in food. So same thing, but here you have to write only about the nutrition, how the nutrients are absorbed, how it is assimilated, broken down before, and of course finally how it is removed, right? So this is all about nutrition in amoeba. Now I'll go to the one of the most important topic of your syllabus, which is nutrition in human beings. Okay, right? You're ready to hear? Now be careful, sit with your paper and copy and be careful. You note down the important points, because this is one of the most important topic for your board, because it comes for 5 marks question also. You can get it for usually long answer type question only comes from here. Okay, so when we talk about nutrition in human beings, that is the digestive system. Whenever we talk about human beings, that is multicellular organisms. Just now I have discussed in unicellular organisms. The same steps are applicable for multicellular organisms, that is human being. But in human being, nutrition is accomplished through 2 steps. Okay, 2 main, we can say we classify it into 2 main types. One is called as alimentary canal. The task is accomplished through the alimentary canal. Here I am marking it. So, and the glands, which produce enzymes which help to break down into smaller molecules. Now comes the word enzymes. What are enzymes? Enzymes are catalysts. I have discussed about catalyst in first chapter in the class also, if you remember. Catalysts are those substances which increase or decrease the rate of reaction. So basically all enzymes are biocatalysts. They help to break down food into smaller molecules. In human beings, you remember we are studying digestion in human beings, right? So nutrition in human beings is also the same, and digestion is a part of the nutrition process. I hope you have understood this concept. What is the difference between nutrition? Nutrition is a complete process, but digestion is a part of the nutrition process. Okay, so the main organs, before we go to the main topic, you have to understand what are the main organs of the digestive system. So the digestive system comprises of the mouth, the esophagus, stomach, small intestine, large intestine, the anus, and of course along with that we have the accessory glands, the helping glands which secrete the enzymes. Okay, they are the salivary glands, the gastric glands, liver, pancreas, and intestinal glands. If you see this diagram carefully, okay, this diagram it is given in your textbook also. Practice this diagram very well, children, because this comes for 3 marks along with the explanation. Okay, so I'll start from the alimentary canal. Okay, alimentary canal begins with the mouth. So what happens in the mouth? In the mouth, food is broken into smaller particles by the teeth. So to understand this part, again you have to understand about the different types of dentition. I hope you remember this term, D-E-N-T-I-T-I-O-N. Dentition, the arrangement of teeth in the mouth, is called as dentition. There are various types of dentition. This is actually a separate topic. We are not discussing it, but the role of teeth is very important because the teeth helps to crush the food in the mouth. And in the mouth, the next important role is played by saliva. S-A-L-I-V-A, saliva, which is secreted by the salivary glands. The salivary glands secrete saliva. What is saliva? Saliva is the secretion, you remember, which is obtained from the salivary gland, and it contains the enzymes. There are several enzymes which are present there, which helps to break down the starch into sugar. So salivary amylase, the saliva contains the enzyme which we call it as salivary amylase. Here it is given. It is given salivary amylase here, but in some books you will get it as ptyalin. P-T-Y, P is silent here. So remember, salivary amylase and ptyalin are the same thing. Sometimes children come out with this doubt. Here it is written ptyalin. It is so remember, these are the same thing. Okay. Now, food is crushed, chewed, and converted into what? Bolus. B-O-L-U-S in the mouth. When does food turn into bolus? When salivary amylase acts on the food. Okay, but salivary amylase will act only on the starch component of the food. That means in the mouth only the starch is digested and broken down into simpler sugars. Mind it, your digestion of starch does not complete in the mouth. So the food that is mixed with the salivary amylase is called as bolus. Okay, now we will no longer call it as food, we will call it as bolus. Am I clear, all of you? So I have explained in very simple, actually it's a huge topic. Here I need to discuss about salivary glands also. The salivary glands are of 3 pairs. You can see in this diagram carefully. If you see this diagram here, I am zooming it, you just check here. These are the locations of the salivary gland. Submaxillary, sublingual. Okay, one more, sublingual is under the tongue here. Okay, there are 2 pairs of submaxillary glands, sublingual gland under the tongue. Okay, these 3 glands, you can see salivary glands, it helps in the process of digestion. Okay, it helps to secrete the saliva. Saliva comes from these 3. So these are the reason. This we will discuss afterwards. Okay. Okay. So our food has now changed into bolus, right? Now next part comes in the stomach. As soon as the food, not food, I need to correct it, it is the bolus. From the mouth, it passes through the esophagus and reaches the stomach. The gastric glands produce gastric juice. Okay, you know that there are certain gastric glands located which help to secrete the gastric juice, and it contains the enzyme, very important enzyme, which is called as pepsin. Along with it, hydrochloric acid as well as mucus. Now, what is pepsin? This pepsin will act on the food, that is bolus, and will break down it will help to break down the proteins. Okay, that means pepsin acts only on protein. Okay, so the food that had reached the stomach, now it is no longer the food, but it has to be converted into another word when it mixes with ptyalin, which we call it as chyme. CHYME, chyme. Food in the mouth is called as bolus. Food in the stomach is called as chyme. When does it become chyme? When pepsin is added to the food or the bolus, it is converted into chyme. But remember, this pepsin acts only on the proteins, not on carbohydrates, neither on fats. Suppose you had for the lunch, suppose if you had taken chawal, you have taken dal, you have taken some fats in the form of butter or ghee or something else, which contains fat. So in the mouth only your chapati or chawal, whatever you are taking, which contains starch, that will be splitted up into the simpler glucose, not the final end product, remember. But along with that, if you have taken rajma or if you have taken some other protein in the form of dal, that remains undigested in the mouth. When this reaches the stomach, only then the pepsin enzyme will act on the protein component of food, and it will break the protein component of food into simpler proteins. Still, the digestion process is not complete, because if you remember, you had taken some fats also in the form of fat ghee or butter or something like that. This still remains undigested. So here the digestion of fat I'll discuss afterwards. So in the stomach, the story doesn't end here. It is only as soon as the food reaches the stomach, the peristaltic movement. What are these movements? It is mentioned in your book also, peristalsis. STALISIS. The peristaltic movements. These movements are responsible for what you can say contraction and expansion of the stomach muscles. That is called by the pyloric glands. There are certain glands which you call as pyloric glands, and also there are some sphincter muscles which help in the contraction and relaxation and secretion of the gastric juice from the gastric glands. So this enzyme pepsin, it starts acting on the protein. Along with that, hydrochloric acid, very important question, HCl. You know, hydrochloric acid is a strong acid only, right? And mucus is also produced. So what is the role of hydrochloric acid? This hydrochloric acid, it produces hydrogen ion, right? This hydrogen ion activates pepsin to work. The pepsin does not start its function on its own. It needs to be triggered. It needs to be activated. And that is done by the hydrogen which is supplied by hydrochloric acid. So you know that this HCl has a very important role in your stomach. Hydrochloric acid, sometimes you must have heard about people complaining of acidity related problems. So why do we face this acidity related problems? This acidity is also it is also because of taking of too much of hydrogen. Suppose if too much of hydrogen ion is released in the stomach, when will it be released? When you take too much of spicy food, right? Right. So in the stomach, we have understood that this stomach receives the food in the form of bolus from the mouth. From here, the gastric juices are secreted, which act on the protein component of the food. The protein component of the food is being broken down or digested by pepsin. Pepsin can work only in an acidic medium. Please remember this statement and just keep it in your mind every time when you write about digestion in the stomach. Pepsin can act only, or rather you can write it in a different way. Pepsin works only in an acidic medium, not on. It works only in an acidic medium. This acidic medium is created by hydrochloric acid, which is secreted by the gastric gland. The role of hydrochloric acid is also very important. This hydrochloric acid, it provides hydrogen ion for the acidic medium. Along with it, it also kills the bacteria or other germs which are present usually with the food. When you are taking food from suppose outside vendor and all, what do? You just have the food, and in the mouth, yes, of course little amount of filtration does take place, but it is, if there are some other bacteria and all unwanted substances, these are being killed by the hydrochloric acid, that is because it is acidic in nature. So this is also a type of protection that is given to you by the nature, right? So hydrochloric acid, it helps to break down it helps to activate the hydrogen ion which is needed for the action of pepsin, which helps to digest the protein. Next, the role of mucus. Okay, the mucus protects the inner lining of the stomach from the action of HCl. As I told you, so our food has now reached the small intestine. The role of enzymes in the mouth, in the stomach, and in the small intestine we are going to discuss here in details. Now first, before I go into the details of this, you must understand how the small intestine looks like structurally. So if you see the picture here carefully, the small intestine, this picture, right? Yes. So if you see this carefully, it is a convoluted tube-like structure and is differentiated into three zones. One is called as the duodenum, the second part is called as the jejunum, and the third part is called as the ileum. Okay, so I'll write it here, the spellings, so that it is clear to you. Duodenum, so you can write on your own, of course. Second part is called as jejunum, 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 and the third part is called as the ileum. Okay, it's given here, ileum. Okay, now the first part, duodenum, it is almost a curved C-shaped structure. Jejunum, it is the comparatively longer and is much more coiled than the duodenum. And the last part, which is ileum, it is the last part of the small intestine, right? And it has numerous inner foldings to form villi. We call it as villi, V-I-L-L-I. We will discuss about this in the last part of the digestion in small intestine. So first we will begin with how the small intestine helps in the process of digestion. Now, before understanding this, the role of small intestine, you have to understand that the food that was in the stomach was acidic in nature. Yes or no? Because HCl had acted on the food and it had made the pepsin acidic to act on the protein component of the food and split it into simpler, we call it as peptides, simpler peptides, which will be further broken down in the due course of time. Now, when the food has reached from stomach to the small intestine, first part of the small intestine, somewhere here, right? Somewhere here, yes. The food will be acted by the enzymes which are present in the pancreas and the liver that will secrete bile. Okay, so I'll discuss the function of liver. That means as soon as the food reaches this first part of the small intestine, it is acted upon by bile. Bile, very important. Remember, bile is a juice. It is not an enzyme. Liver is the largest gland. You all know this, right? Liver secretes bile. This bile helps in emulsification of fat. The role of bile is to help in emulsification. Are you getting my point? Yes, it helps in emulsification of fats. Now, next is the role of pancreas. Pancreas also, it produces pancreatic juices. Pancreas secretes pancreatic juices in the form of trypsin, 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 chymotrypsin, okay, chymo, chymotrypsin, and one more is lipase, lipase, lipase. These three acts on the acidic component of food, okay. But remember, trypsin and chymotrypsin will act only on protein, and this lipase will act only on the fat, right? So what will happen? This will help to neutralize the acidity, because these are quite basic in nature, alkaline in nature, so they will try to neutralize the acidic component of the food, and as a result the food becomes neutralized, right? This is how, see, you are again studying acid bases here, the reaction between acid and the reaction between base or alkali here. So the pancreas provides an alkaline medium. It provides an alkaline medium and it neutralizes the acidic effect. So pancreas has a very important role here. So this pancreas role of, not only that, besides this, in digestion, pancreas also secretes insulin and glucagon. You will study about this. These are not enzymes, these are hormones. So basically pancreas is a mixed gland. Liver is a largest gland in the body, and pancreas is a mixed gland. Why it is a mixed gland? Because it performs digestive function also, and at the same time it also helps in secretion of certain hormones, which we will discuss in the chapter control and coordination. Now for the time being, what you have understood is the digestive role of pancreas, where it acts on the trypsin, where it acts on the food by producing some enzymes like trypsin, chymotrypsin and lipase. So after the enzymes are mixed with the food, now the food reaches the next part, that is the food is passed to the next part of the small intestine, jejunum. It is a coiled structure that you can see here, and finally it reaches the ileum. Now what is the role of ileum? The ileum has, as I told you, numerous finger-like projections this way. These are numerous finger-like projections, and they are lined with blood capillaries. They help in the contraction and expansion, and as a result they increase the surface area for maximum absorption of food. The role of villi is very important for a 2-mark question. What is the role of villi in the process of digestion? So villi is present in the small intestine, and it helps to maximize the surface area for absorption of food, right? So after this, almost the digestion is over, because digestion in the mouth we have already understood, digestion in the stomach we have understood, and now we have understood the ultimate digestion of food in the small intestine. But children, remember, in the mouth and in the stomach only partial digestion takes place. Complete digestion of food takes place in the small intestine. So in the small intestine, ultimately food is broken down into the absorbable component. That means carbohydrate you had taken, carbohydrate is broken down into glucose. This glucose is directly absorbed by the blood. Next, you have taken proteins. Proteins are broken down into first peptides. I told you, simpler peptides, dipeptide, tripeptide, and then from there it is broken down into amino acids. Amino acids are absorbed by the blood. Fats they are broken down into fatty acids and glycerol. Okay, fatty acids and glycerol, and again they are absorbed by the blood. So this point must be very clear to you, that in your body the food that you are eating is ultimately broken down into simpler components and then finally absorbed by the blood. So if your digestion process is not complete, there will be no as such absorption, and as such the energy released will also, you have to understand in the coming chapter how the energy will be released by breaking down of glucose, by breaking down of this amino acids, and by breaking down of this of course this is not discussed here in your syllabus. So glucose at least you will learn in respiration chapter, because till now we have understood that food is broken down and then it is absorbed by the blood. After absorption, it is required for different metabolic processes. Okay. Now what happens to the undigested food? The undigested food goes to the large intestine. The large intestine, as you can see, it has various parts like colon, cecum, rectum, and one more part is mentioned, appendix, anus. So colon is the first part of the large intestine. Then we have the cecum, where food is stored, undigested food is stored temporarily, rectum also, and finally it is egested or it is removed from the body with the help of this anus. Okay. Appendix, the role of appendix is non-functional in human beings. It is called as vestigial organ. Okay. So now after the absorption of water takes place in the large intestine, the waste material are removed through the anus, and this completes the process of digestion in human beings. Children, please remember, we have understood about digestion in human beings through the diagram. Okay. So whenever you are attempting a 5 marks question, so please keep it in mind, you have to draw the diagram and explain. Usually in your case for class 10th, we ask it separately. Explain the process of digestion in the stomach, in the mouth, or in the small intestine. Any one will come. If it comes as a whole, then you have to write everything, and if it comes separately, you have to write separately, mentioning the role of enzymes. And one more thing I told you about liver and pancreas, don't forget, these are accessory glands. Okay. So these glands you will write whenever you are writing about small intestine. Whenever any question comes for small intestine, along with this small intestine, you have to write the role of liver and pancreas. Okay. So with this, this part is over. The next topic I'll be discussing is in the third part of the video, respiration. Right. Thank you so much, and do give me your feedback also. That will help me to improvise. Thank you so much.